is. The issue is.
I'm Stephen Dial in Dallas.
I'm Greg Grugan in Houston.
And I'm Rudy Koski in Austin. And this is Texas, the issue is.
I may sound like a broken record. There continues to be a major problem on our southern border. I spoke to State Representative Eddie Morales, who represents Eagle Pass, who says the Biden administration is not doing enough, and he's proposing a bipartisan plan to Governor Abbott.
I think that we are handling, as part of the Democratic Party, we're kind of handling this on a silver platter to the opposite party by not really, getting our hands on it and focusing all our efforts.
Is the plan you sent realistic? Is this something that you think Republicans and Democrats and the governor can get on board with?
We can have these workforce agreements between the governor of Coahuila, for example, and the governor of Texas. We need 100 laborers, let's say in Uvalde, for some crop picking. They can do a joint cooperation agreement where they send them over here for a period of time, and they're paying, again, they're gainfully employed. The employers are taken care of also so that they don't get into any criminal conduct and employing these sorts of migrants. And it's a win-win situation for everyone. Just as an example, we had 1,600 crossings daily that were taking place in the Eagle Pass Del Rio sector alone. If we were to charge $2,000 for that initial processing fee and for them to get a non-voting ID card with an RFID chip in there that could serve also as a credit card for them, we would be able to generate $3.2 million a day and over $1.2 billion annually just in the Eagle Pass Del Rio sector. We were able to run some background checks, and we're also then able to keep track of them through that RFID chip that's in the non-voting ID card. It would also serve as a credit card so that we would always be able to access it, and we know that they're gainfully employed, and be able to then charge the initial fee as well as any renewal fees also on the plan. The plan provides that you would have to be gainfully employed, and you'd be having to comply with all of the requirements, including not getting anything above a Class C misdemeanor.
You're a Democrat calling out the sitting president and his administration. Why now? Why are you calling out the administration now?
From day one, as a Democrat, I think that I have to call the strikes and the balls, regardless of party affiliation. I think that once you get elected, I have to represent a little over 200,000 people in my district. It's the largest geographic district in the state of Texas and in the United States. It has a shared border with Mexico over 750 miles. And at the end of the day, I am the voice of everyone in House District 74. And as such, sometimes it's imperative that we call our own whenever we think that they're not doing enough. And this is one of those issues. I voted for Biden. I voted for this sort of leadership up there. I think he's doing a fantastic job in getting us out of the recession in a timely fashion from all the other type of countries, especially in Europe. I think we're seeing a faster recovery. And I think there's a number of issues that he's done well on this one issue. And when we appoint, for example, a Vice President, Kamala Harris, when we appoint her, we have her appointed as the border czar, and yet she's never been down here on the border and actually put her boots on the ground. Those are the types of openings that we leave to the opposition.
Do you think that any parts of Operation Lone Star are still inhumane? I know you've made comments in the past. Have you changed your stance on this?
I happily supported Operation Lone Star. Most recently, we heard of some emails and some communications and some concerns and complaints filed by even those that were working with DPS or the National Guard soldiers also about the inhumane treatment. And I didn't sign up for that. And so I think that we needed to make sure that we put a checks and balance and we make sure that the migrants were being treated humanely. I've seen a change in direction. I've seen a more humane processing of these migrants, but at the same time, we can't call it humane when we're still using the river to get them across or for them to get across, and then we process them over here.
A lot to unpack there. Rudy Koski, what's your one word?
My word is a word that Governor Abbott used just a few days ago: war.
Greg Grugan, what say you?
Stephen, my word is crapshoot.
Governor Abbott told Fox News this week that the border, at least one issue, will be added to the October special session, which was supposed to just be about education. Rudy, will anything come out of this session?
You know, Stephen, I think the first part of this special session is going to be dealing with the border because the crisis is now. And as you mentioned, Wednesday, the governor said point blank, Texas is at war with the federal government. And in that same interview with Fox News, Abbott indicating part of his call will include legislative hearings on that Southeast Texas immigrant community known as the Colony and the people who are running it, who, by the way, have been donating to Abbott's previous re-election campaigns. So I think other border bills will also be considered in this early weeks of the session, maybe a reboot of Matt Schaefer's new Border Patrol unit idea. Then probably the back on the back end of the special session, we'll go into that school choice rabbit hole. Stephen?
Greg, will money just be thrown around to this, or will there be an actual solution?
Solution with a Biden administration that's shamelessly sitting on its hands and looking the other way, and a divided Congress that completely refuses to collaborate on any serious reform. There will be no solution, just damage control. That's really all you can say about Operation Lone Star. It's a state program to limit the damage, and despite the billions of dollars Texans have already spent, it's really hard to assess its impact. So your question is about spending more state dollars to do what President Biden won't, and I'm guessing the answer is yes. If it were up to me, and it's clearly not, I'd bolster overwhelmed local law enforcement in every South Texas county because the cartels that control the border are just getting stronger.
Representative Morales at least came up with a plan. Rudy, you and I talk about all the time how a lot of people complain about the border but don't have a plan. Can this plan work?
Well, I'm going to first agree with what Greg said. Right now, we're trapped in a loop of damage control, and we're just not going anywhere. And Morales and I, we spoke about this idea at the beginning of the regular session. There is sound logic to his idea. It's going to be a hard sell for sure, but it is a plan. You're right, Stephen. It is a real plan, other than, denying that people are walking across the border like the Biden administration's doing. Wow. Can you believe that they even say that? Or only wanting just to build a wall that's already being climbed over, right? And putting down more razor wire that's being crawled through and cut, right? So let's have a real discussion, shall we? A full hearing here in Austin on Morales' idea and hear it out instead of just being trapped in this never-ending loop of what Greg says is damage control.
Hey, I agree with you on that one. Greg, October was supposed to be all education. Now the border is being talked about in the Republican debate and other places. It's a bigger topic now from a national appeal. Will education take a back seat, or are we putting too much stock in the border?
I don't think so. The showdown on school choice will be front and center as Governor Abbott cashes in political capital where he can and flexes political muscle where he can't. As I've said before, this difficult fight for choice has been made even more difficult by the Texas Senate and Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick essentially sticking it to the House with the controversial Paxton impeachment acquittal. If Speaker Dade Phelan and rural House Republicans reverse course and fold on choice, they look weak, and Patrick will have taken them to the woodshed again. On the flip side, if we assume all 64 House Democrats vote against vouchers, the anti-choice forces need only a dozen Republicans to stand with them. That gives Speaker Phelan more than enough leverage. Question is, will he use it? And is he willing to weather the governor's anger and the prospect of multiple special sessions?
Okay, short answer, guys. Rudy, you first. Will education savings account, school choice, whatever you want to call it, will it pass in October?
Stephen, it's going to be a hot debate, and a lot of money is going to be thrown out. A lot of money going to be thrown out, and it will pass.
Greg?
I'll follow the rules. Pilot program.
All right, that's all the time we have for now. To see this episode or any of our past ones, go to our station's YouTube channels.
Keep the conversation going by hitting us up on social media.
And October means playoff baseball, a new special session, and Republican primary for president heating up. What more can you ask for? We'll see you next week, and let us know what you think the issue is.